All right, so welcome to our first segment of the Community Experiences series. With the community of Akwesasne still deeply entrenched in the COVID-19 pandemic, we wanted to talk to someone who was directly and personally affected by COVID-19. Our first guest of this new series is community businesswoman Valene Gray, owner of the local business Feathers Café here in Akwesasne. Valene has been very open about her experiences regarding the COVID-19 pandemic and was willing to sit and speak with us on how she has been directly affected. Welcome, Valene.
Hi, Ryan. How are you?
I'm good. How are you? Is the
I'm doing
question.
great. I'm doing very great. Very, very good.
Awesome. So like we were talking before, you and I were chit-chatting a little bit before we got rolling. So I don't
Yes.
want to take up too much of your time. We know you're a businesswoman and you're busy. You got a house full of kids. So we're gonna jump right into our questions, if that's all right with
Okay.
you.
That's totally fine. We're good to go.
Alrighty, perfect. When were you first notified that you were COVID-19 positive?
We were notified on Saturday, February 20th. Um, so when we first found out, like, to go get tested, actually, my husband, Junior, Philip Gray, he was the one that gave us the red flag because we ate supper and he told me he couldn't smell or taste any of it.
Mhm.
And before, we had lunch that day. There was a local sale and we purchased from, one of the local businesses, and we had lunch. There was nothing. And then that evening, the look on his face, we have this conversation quite often, right? And I think it's just a way of venting to be able to kind of get it out of your system after you've experienced it. um i just I told him, I said, the look on your face when you told me that you couldn't taste supper, I was like, oh no, and I think everybody has that little bit of fear or that anticipation, like, oh God, is this going to ever happen to me? And so when you have that red flag that comes up, like, you're just like, oh. And so, eh, we prepared ourselves and then we went and got tested the next morning. We went and got rapid tested. And that's when we found out on the February 20th. And that's when we found out, actually. So I have six children, and actually, sorry, two of our six children tested positive, plus myself and Junior. And the rest didn't. So, and then we had another family member who was visiting, and they tested negative too. So out of the nine of us, four out of the nine had tested positive. And it was just like, oh God, yeah, yeah.
So what was your reaction to finding out that you were positive when you got the news?
Oh, I think as I was driving to go get tested, I was preparing myself, like in the back of your head, you're just like, you draw all these different scenarios. And I'm an overthinker to begin with, and I literally just continually kept thinking of scenarios like, okay, if it's positive, this is, I think I'm going to react this way. If it's negative, then I think it's going to, and the crazy thing is, and I still look back on it and I'm like, and it's not funny at all, but I think that was my nervous reaction, was when we did find out that we were positive. I kind of was like, I knew it. And I kind of giggled to myself, I think to try and comfort myself, because I knew I was scared. Like deep down
Right,
inside, I knew I was scared because
right.
I didn't know what like, it's the unknown. That's the
Hmm.
thing that's really difficult because it affects everybody differently. And that
Right.
was the unknown. Like, okay, this is the beginning of it. What do we have in store for us, going forward?
Exactly. And like
Mhm.
you mentioned, it does hit everybody differently. You hear of people who had nightmare symptoms, and you had
Yes,
people who had nothing. And they were just like,
exactly.
that common
And
misconception of, it's not, it's just a bad flu or it's nothing.
yeah.
So that kind of leads us right into our next question. So what was your recovery like? And then what was the recovery like for the rest of your family who were positive?
So later on into the week, so the four of us tested positive, and then the whole time from Saturday until Monday, I literally watched the kids like a hawk to see, okay, does anybody have any other symptoms that are brewing, like, because we had all driven in a car together. We all were exposing each other because we didn't know we had who had it and who didn't, you
Hmm.
know and so literally everybody was going to get it because we were all in the car together. My kids are very close and everything. And so from there, whenever we, uh I guess, prepared ourselves and everything, like, I watched them, and then the minute that they showed that they were sniffling and so on, we brought them in that Tuesday to go and get tested. And it was a waiting game, like, but for myself, I didn't have like severe symptoms. I started out with like a sinus infection, and like I didn't end up having antibiotics or anything like that. I just used a lot of like sinus Tylenol and like sinus Advil, and just different over-the-counter cold medicines to help relieve. It was like a lot of pressure, and I had crazy headache this crazy headache that was just unbearable. But to me in my head, I'm like, Val, push through this because you got others to take care of in this house, so quit
Mhm.
babying yourself and get it together. And so the others, my other two children, the first two that tested positive, they didn't show really any symptoms. They had similar, like they complained of a headache, and they felt like, this is the weird thing about it, they said that they felt like they were there, but they weren't there. This is the way they described it to me. They felt like dizzy at times, and
Mhm.
it felt surreal. They said they didn't, but this was even like when we were going through it, and like even a little bit when they had a little bit of symptoms, but never vocalized it because they thought, well, maybe I'm just tired or something.
Mhm.
And so the two that were first diagnosed, that's when they had those symptoms. And then Junior, he had, he was the one that was the red flag. So he had the no taste, no smell. And then his ended up going into the cough. He had more of a cough, more of, he had more symptoms than all. Then later on, like as the week progressed, we had the kids get retested at the IGA on that Tuesday. And then you know, even the baby had small symptoms. But the crazy thing is, we just found out she was teething at the same time as she had
Oh,
COVID. So the
wow.
poor kid was double whammy. And
Just going
so,
through the whole thing, teething,
yes,
and she got
yes, teething,
coronavirus.
yes.
Poor
That was the
baby.
only positive thing out of this, was that she had a baby tooth that popped out. So her symptoms were, she just had a small cough, and the others had little coughs. And our other relative that was here with us, that was the worrisome thing, because I know all my kids, and I know their health and their medical background. Now with our other relative that was here, I didn't know very much of his health background or medical or anything like that. I didn't know what he's allergic to. I didn't, and he was the one that, so all of my kids and myself and Junior, we never had a fever. He ended up getting like 104 fever,
Oh, wow.
lost his voice. It was like literally attacking his throat. Like he said it was like razor blades. His throat was very sore. So, like I took care of but after a while, my kids seemed like they weren't even sick, so I'm
Right.
like, okay, I gotta focus on him and
Yeah.
Junior to make sure, help getting them back. Then myself, like I had literally 2 days that were rough, but not to knock me off my feet or anything. I still continued on with daily chores and so on. But it was just I'm not kidding, like the body aches. That's the only thing that terrifies me. Like when I think about it, was the body aches. I wake up at like 4 o'clock in the morning, and literally have these aches in every joint. I'm not kidding. Even my teeth. I'm
Oh,
not kidding.
yeah.
It was crazy. My teeth hurt. My elbows, my wrists, and my knees, ankles, every part of, and so I would go and take Tylenol. It would take a little bit of the edge off, and then it would go away. Then it'd come back again.
Mhm.
And for Junior, his symptoms, he ended up having a heart. Like one day I was like, okay, get up now, because you know enough was enough. Okay, let's get moving. And he was actually having breathing problems. That he was the one that was getting hit because he kept
Mm.
coughing. And then I checked his vitals, and I checked his we had a little machine here that would check your oxygen level, and it was like so down. It was like 93. We were ready to bring him into the hospital.
Oh,
So I told him, I'm like, hey, we got to work with, I got a hold of the nurses. We had to work with doing breathing exercises and so on. He had to get that oxygen level up, because if he didn't, we were going in and he was going to get admitted. So we did that. And then he got a puffer and he ended up getting antibiotics as well, along with our other relative who was with us. They both got antibiotics. And, you know, it was just day by day, taking vitamins, staying hydrated, you know, making sure we ate, because the adults, myself and Junior, we were affected by smell and taste. The
Mm,
kids, they all still have their smell and taste. They're all good, like they're
right.
fine. But like even to this day, like I cannot smell any. I can smell a little bit. Like it has to be. I don't know. Like some things I can, but I can't smell a lot of it. It's just like a tiny little whiff, and taste. I can't like I can taste sweet and I can taste salty. I can't, but anything in between, like if I were to eat a fruit, I can tell it's sweet, but I
Mhm.
can't taste it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like, so you still have the lingering effects, like,
Oh yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's the ones that people don't want. You like, everybody says, I don't care if I get sick, don't let me lose my taste and my smell.
Yeah.
and
And the thing
and here
is,
you
when you
are.
don't when you have no taste and no smell, you don't want to eat. You don't want to. And me, I like to cook and I like to bake, and I'm like really,
Taking
come
the joy
on, you
out of
know.
all of it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
So it's almost like your household had, almost like you said, like we mentioned, the no symptoms whatsoever,
We had
to
it
the
like the
extreme, to, like you said,
yeah,
the razor blades in the throat, the,
yeah,
loss of taste and smell, the high fever. um
yeah,
and that tends to be like a common misconception now, and even today, we've been dealing with COVID-19 for, well into a year now.
yes,
And people are still thinking, oh, it's a hoax, it's fake, it's not real.
yeah.
It's nothing. If you get it, you're just going to be sick for a couple days.
Yeah.
So that kind of, again, ties into another question I had for you. What's something that you want the community to know about, being positive for COVID-19? What do you want the
It's
community to
it's
know about it?
exactly what you said, you know, that it's not a hoax, it's real. Because as I said, now I still have family members who still have the lingering effects. We're still healing from it. And, you know, not to be shy about it. Don't shame yourself, you know, tell people, be transparent about it, and tell, you know, like don't be shy to tell people, because the community is seriously is so supportive. It is overwhelming. I think a year ago when you were to tell somebody, oh my god, I have COVID, it's becoming a little bit of a norm now. You know, like if you were to tell a year ago, nobody knew who had COVID. If
Hmm.
you were to tell somebody, it was like this taboo. You didn't want anybody to know. It was, you know, like it was like you were shamed upon if you were to get it.
Hmm.
And now it's such a norm. I can't stress enough to be, you know, call out for help if you do need help, you know, because the community is so amazingly supportive about it now, that if you need the help, people are there for you. Like, and don't be like, so don't be shy about it. And on top of that, take precaution, you know, take it seriously. Whether you think it's a hoax or not, like take it seriously, because it can affect anybody. Like my baby is 8 months old and she has tested positive for it. So she had, you know, and family members in my family are, you know, in their late 60s and they have it. And it's literally it's this blind battle that we're all fighting, and that, you know, like we do our best, you know, protect yourself, do the best you can, sanitize, keep your distance. Yes, it's hard to keep your distance when you miss your family, you miss your friends, you miss so on. I think after you experience it, you realize the importance of it. To This is a time where we have to make sacrifices, you know, sacrifices to, you know, to be able to. I think we are the reason that, you know, we have to. Everybody has to make sacrifices to be able to stop the spread, you know. And it's so important. Wear your mask. That's the. My daughter is 2 years old and knows the minute we hit that door, she's holding her mask in her hand, you know. So I know it's a pain in the butt, because I do have friends and relatives who feel it's, oh, it's so inconsiderate. I'm so annoyed with having to wear a mask. Try wearing a mask all day when you
Hmm.
work. Try wearing a mask when my little ones, they didn't test positive yet. So I had to sleep with a mask on. I
Oh,
had to sleep with a mask on to pray to God that they didn't catch it, even though, yes, they gave us a heads up, they're most likely going to get it. But as a precaution, if you miss them, like, yes, we had to sleep, and there was nights, oh my God, I woke up and I thought in my dream I thought somebody was choking me because I'm like got a mask on, and you're like, "Ah." But like that's just the importance of it. It's just, I know people don't like following the rules. I know people don't like having that, telling you what to do. But seriously, if it were to happen to somebody that you love dearly, and it knocks them down and they are having such a struggle, and it scares the crap out of you to be able to come back out of it, that's where I push it to be important, because there were family members that were affected by us, and it hurts to see that, you know we didn't know, and at the same time, we thought we were safe, and nobody's safe. It can happen to anybody. It can
Right.
seriously happen to anybody.
Right.
So, what I guess you're when I conclude with what my I would like to say to the community is, overall, be safe, be clean, sanitize, wear your mask, and on top of that, be transparent. Don't be shy. I did a live. I told all my customers, like, straight up, because I can make a post, which I did, and others, like, everybody interprets messages different, right? So
Right.
that's why I went live, and I'm like, okay, this is what's up, and this is why, so be transparent. Don't ever be shy about it, and if you need help, seriously, call out for it, because it's seriously a mental game. It is. I had a relative tell me, Val, we're here for you. I'm giving you a heads up because they had COVID, and they were giving me, they're like, if you need anything, call us, because it definitely is a mental game. Like, I'm not
Mhm.
kidding. It is definitely. And so I'm like, yeah, okay, yeah, I'll call you if I need you, And I never, like, it never clued in until when I got, like, to the middle of the whole, I guess, experience.
Mhm.
And I was like, this is definitely a mental game. Oh my God. It is,
Yeah.
it definitely is.
Like you're
Yes.
doing it's almost like a routine for 14 days straight.
Yeah.
Making sure you're okay, making sure everybody else is okay,
Yeah.
having the energy to make sure everybody's okay, especially if
Yeah.
you're like the one person who's, healthy enough to, to care for everybody.
Yeah.
You said like you said, it's a mental chess game of making
Hmm.
sure, you're okay before, you can make sure everybody else is okay, or
Yeah.
you're
And
coming in place.
I would do mental checks when we would have supper, or, when we'd sit down. I'd make sure, like, because we can't leave or anything. So when we had family members brought us food, community members brought us food, it was just like so overwhelming. And, like, when we would sit down to eat, I would do that. I would sit down and have, mental checks. How, I'm not kidding. One of my children literally had a meltdown, a
Hmm.
full blown meltdown. And I said, okay, this is all right. Let's vent. Let's talk about this. And you know what the funny thing is? It's not really funny, but I says, what is the problem? And he says, I need to get out of this house. Like, and, I'm like, and it didn't help. It was so cold out.
Yeah.
So we didn't want to compromise their lungs and so on. So we're trying to play it safe. On days it was nice, we did go outside, but it would get bitterly cold again.
Hmm.
And that was the thing. He was just like, I need to get out of this house. And it, it definitely, we definitely did the mental checks to make sure everybody was good.
That's good. Good. I'm glad you guys came out of it. I'm
I
relatively
appreciate it.
unscathed. Minus not can't smell or taste nothing yet, but I'm sure it'll come
I
back.
have my employees who are tasting my soups and checking my food, and they're like, "Yep, it tastes good." I'm like, "Please be honest with me, like, because I can't taste nothing.
Like I can't
Too
taste test
salty."
nothing. You have to be honest with me. Tell me if
Yes.
it's good.
Yeah.
If it needs more seasoning, please tell me.
Exactly. Exactly.
So we're gonna wrap up with one
Mhm.
last question. If it can be how you're impacted personally, it can be regarding your business, however you want to spin it. If you want to address both, but how have you been impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic itself?
Okay. Oh, so I'll answer it both way, personally and business wise.
Okay.
Personally, like being impacted, it's being like quarantined for that long, going, and I've talked to community members who've had it and they've been through the same thing. When you're impacted by it, you're seriously like scared to go back out. And it's in the back of your head, but it's a lot of I guess mind over matter, I guess. But you really have this worry, like when you go back out, like you're scared, and you feel like everybody's looking at you, but nobody's looking at you, like I guess it all depends on how you interpret it and stuff like that. But like even with that, like, so it impacted me because I don't know, I like people. I'm not usually shy. I'm, a very people person and so on. And impacting it made me literally want to be an introvert, like, and that's not me. Like it's literally changed and impact me that way. I broke the cycle, I'm just like, whatever,
Hmm.
I'm not gonna let this take me over. But even that, like, it impacted me every time. If we have anywheres to go, we have our routine. Everybody bring your masks. Do we have the sanitizer? Yes, we have the sanitizer, like, and there's all, it's a very important routine that we have, it impacted us that way. And it impacted us in a way to think different, to be honest with you. It made me, I've always been appreciative of everything, but it made me even more appreciative. It made me even more humble. It really made me change myself, even well-being. Like I even like started changing the way I ate, the way I, like, and
Hmm.
it really um affect me to make me realize the importance of life, for real. Yeah. Yes, most definitely. It made me realize the importance of life and importance of people in my life, which is, like, it's weird that this experience would bring out this kind of stuff. And I think I've talked to some people and they've had the same thing, which is weird. Not, it's not really weird, but it's interesting how it's affected people to have them have the same type of outlook like that.
Hmm.
Business wise, it impacted me where I was, yes, I'm transparent. At the same time, I was scared. I was scared because I've always been scared of COVID shutting down my business, because it's been our life. It's our livelihood. This is my life, So I've always been scared that my employees or somebody's gonna affect it, where even myself, where, oh my God, my doors are gonna have to shut for 2 weeks and nobody's gonna get a paycheck, like,
Hmm.
so that's what, because if the door is shut, nobody gets a paycheck. And that's even me, or even the business affected somebody else's livelihood who relies on that, you know? And so like COVID was always like, when I drive down the strip and I see some businesses shut down because they have to clean or they have to, it's scary. Like you literally have that thought in the back of your head, like, oh my God, this could happen to me too.
Hmm.
And it can, like it can. And so with that affecting it, like, it really pushes to, I always talk with my employees, like, and we always say, be careful, like, we try, everybody always has their masks on, be sanitary, and try your hardest not to go out of your bubble to expose yourself, and even COVID has really affected business too by slowing it down. People don't want to leave their houses. People are afraid to leave their houses, and business isn't the same as it was a year ago, and we've made adjustments. We've had to make adjustments by, you know, lowering our hours, staggering staff here and there. And I always tell my employees, I will never let you go without. You're always gonna, I'm never gonna take all your hours away from you so you can't survive. No, we're making our adjustments so that we can keep going. And we have, and I'm very thankful for that, because we've never had to shut our doors yet. And that's always in the back of your mind where, oh my God, like it's slow today. What's it going to be like tomorrow? What's it going to be like the next day? And
Right.
being an entrepreneur, you have to come up with tricks pull out of their sleeve to be able to make ends meet. Where,
Mhm.
like, in last spring I did bake sales to make sure were met every week. Um, Doing different all sorts of, specials and so on. And I guess it's the name of the game right now, and it can be stressful, but I know there's a light at the end of this tunnel. I know there is. Yeah. And we just can't give up on it.
Excellent.
Mhm.
Awesome. So those are all the questions I had for you, Val.
Okay.
I want to thank you for your time.
You're welcome.
I'm glad you and your family came out of this unscathed. I
Yes.
hope you get your taste and your smell back because you're
Oh,
gonna
I
be able
hope
to taste you're gonna be able to taste your creations and get those taste,
so
get that taste bud back.
too.
But I do
Oh.
want to thank you again for your time, being open and honest, like you mentioned,
Mhm.
being transparent with your experience. I
Yes.
think in doing so, it'll bring a lot more people, to the forefront and say, hey, this was my experience as well.
Mhm.
So
And you
again,
know what? Everybody's experience is different. Everybody's, as you said, like everybody, like somebody can have a horrific one and have somebody can have a smooth sail. It all depends. It really does. Everybody's totally different.
right,
Hmm. And
exactly.
thank you. You know what? I really appreciate you guys taking the time to do these segments to bring awareness to the community that, you're not alone. Nobody's ever alone in this. Nobody is alone whatsoever. You know, and we appreciate you doing this to bring awareness to the community.
Awesome. Thank you. And
Hmm.
again, your time is greatly appreciated. I know you
For
probably have
sure.
kids knocking down your door like, Mama, where are you? So
Probably.
again, so thank you for your time, Val,
You're
and
very
wish you all the
welcome.
best.
All right. Thank you, Ryan.
Okay, Anna.
Anna.